Welcome to Health Matters with Dr. Nelson Bulmash as he takes a fresh look at today's most interesting health topics with functional medicine's leading doctors and experts. Learn how to feed your mind, exercise your body, and nurture your spirit in the way nature intended. Catch him live every other Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Over the next hour, we'll introduce you to some fascinating people and engaging discussions that may provide you with answers to assist in revolutionizing your own personal health. And now, here's Dr. Nelson.
Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmash, the host of Health Matters on the UI Media Network. Thank you for joining me, I can finally say, here in the South on this glorious Tuesday. We've had crazy storms, heavy hail, tornadoes, dramatic rain downpours, and suddenly the sky opened up, the sun came out today, and it is gorgeous. I have a feeling it'll be in the 80s, which for me is perfect. My guest, it's probably not so much because I think it may, if it's not going to snow, I think she at least has colder weather up in Iowa, and in a moment I'm going to introduce her. She's laughing at me, so I'm probably right on mark with that, but I'm going to have a beautiful weekend outside doing something fun, maybe with my dog or my family out in the sunshine. And I'm so happy to say that. It's been kind of a joke that, it's Nelson Show Day. It's time for more rain. So happy to be here with everyone. I'm going to talk about myself a little bit since we're on so many new platforms. I am Dr. Nelson Bulmash. I'm a chiropractor. I'm a naturopath. I have a number of different degrees in nutrition. And some years ago, 3 actually, when all my young team members from my national powerlifting team said, Nelson, we're all going on to our careers or retiring from powerlifting. It's time for you to move on and get a new hobby. It was kind of strange for me because I had been coaching for 20 or 30 hours a week. So suddenly you have 20 or 30 hours open up and life is strange and you need to fill it. So I was on a radio show here at UI Media and they liked what I did, what I said, and they offered me a radio show. And I apparently, you can check and see if this is true, but they said I was the first person to ever go directly onto FM radio. Now we're on 10 different TV platforms. We're on every social media platform, and I'm having a blast. And sometimes people say to me, Nelson, you have such a busy life. You've got a waiting list practice. Why in the world do you do this? And the answer is simple, because this is one more way for me to help get incredible information out there. You see, if all of us find some way, small or large, to get out and share the gifts that we have, we end up with a world that is full of hope, possibility, collaboration, and joy. And so I'm doing my part. I love being on the air so much that day that I decided that either once or twice a week I would do a show, and so now I'm on many others shows during the week, and I go live usually twice, but 4 of my shows, I've done so many, go out 1 per week throughout the month. So very excited to be here, and the reason is because I have the best guests there are out there, and today's no exception. I have my friend and colleague Sarah Outlaw. And she is a master herbalist and clinical nutritionist out of Iowa. And she is sort of living my dream life. She's on a horse farm of, I think, nearly 30 acres. She has her family that she's rearing on that beautiful plot of land. And I see the sunsets that she posts. And Sarah, it looks idyllic. What can I say? Welcome to Health Matters.
Thank you, Nelson. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Anything you want to say about what life is like to live in such a beautiful area?
Wow. Well, I moved to Iowa in July of last year from New Jersey, at a farm there. And so it's very different. I feel like the sky is bigger here. I know they say like big sky country, but it seems bigger. It just, the sunsets go on and on. The clouds are beautiful. I've never taken so many pictures of sunrises and sunsets in my life.
Well, Sarah, really, when I was a kid, I developed a love for photography, and I am crazy about taking pictures of natural settings, particularly sunsets and sunrises. So I'm probably your biggest sunrise fan. So thank you for posting those. I love the picturesque scenes that you put up, those beautiful orange hues that cast across the sky. It always makes me smile when I see your pictures. And I think I am striving one day to live that kind of life. So we'll start there. And I want to ask you, Sarah, you really you have such a deep passion for helping people, particularly. I know you have, people tell me sometimes all the different businesses that you have. You're so entrepreneurial, and yet probably your deepest love is to help people through correcting lifestyle choices that don't foster healthy outcomes, and to use modification of dietary intake and whole food supplementation.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like my passion has always been really helping people to get to the root cause of their symptoms, because so many times we feel like our symptoms are normal because we're so used to them.
Right.
And we forget that we're supposed to feel amazing. When you eat your food, you're supposed to feel awesome. You're not supposed to feel tired, not supposed to feel lethargic. You're not supposed to have brain fog. All of these things, aches and pains, we're not supposed to have any of those things, but so many people do. So my job is to figure out why and get rid of them so you can live the best life that you're meant to live.
That's awesome, Sarah. That's so awesome, because the truth is, particularly, Sarah, we have people who are just emerging. You heard me correctly, just emerging from self-quarantine. A year in self-imprisonment. I'm not kidding you. I mean, last week we had people that said, "You don't understand, Nelson. This is the first time I have left my house in a year." And I said, "Well, what does that mean? Like, you had to get groceries?" No, they were always delivered.
Yeah.
So you literally have not been out for a year. Sarah, first of all, I couldn't do that. To me, everyone at some point should be out. There are plenty of places. We have open parks, places where you don't have a lot of people, that you could be at least walking, getting sunshine, being active. So, Sarah, the first question I really want to ask you is, what are some of the big challenges or choices that people have made during the pandemic that have really caused their health to falter at this time?
Yeah, I think really they forgot that they have an immune system. And so all of a sudden, people are scrambling in fear, trying to do all of these things that are opposite of trusting their own immune system. So instead of, taking their vitamin C and taking their zinc and eating whole foods, they went into hiding and started eating junk food and, relying on all these things and what the media was telling them. And I've seen health go in the wrong direction for an entire year. So I've had to play, patchwork mama here to try to help people and to get back. They gained the quarantine 15 to quarantine 20, and just looking at people and thinking, listen, you just need to take control of your health at this point. And remember that you have an immune system, and that hiding in your home is not going to build it. I didn't change my life at all. I couldn't. I mean, I had two practices. I have two practices in two states, 1,000 miles away. I've been on 30 airplanes since last March. I didn't stop.
Wow.
So I've flown back and forth, and I stopped flying in September because I am exclusively here now, and I still run the other practice, but I couldn't change my life, and I've been healthy the entire time. So I've been exposed to hundreds and hundreds of people, airports all over the country.
Sure.
And just relied on the faith of my immune system and said, listen, I trust what I do. I know what I do works, and I'm trying to instill that in other people. But that's the main thing. People are not trusting in the immune systems God gave them.
Yeah. Sarah, I'm so happy you initially bring that to the people's attention who are viewing the show right now, because one of the things that was very discouraging to me, and I have two parts of this. One is that because I'm now considered a media figure, that it was brought to my attention by the president of various boards. Dr. Bulmash, we want to say to you, as we go into this pandemic, that you better be very, very careful what you say.
Yeah.
And I looked at them and then said, I don't understand your position. Well, what's not clear about it, sir? I said, what's not clear is we have an immune system that is very powerful and very effective if you take care of your immune system. And they said, let me say it to you one more time. If you say anything that you cannot absolutely prove factually, I don't care if it's that eating better will help you have a lessened risk of developing this virus, we will come after you.
Yeah.
And Sarah, I just have to say, it was so shocking to me that I would be approached with that and threatened with that it really, I have to be very candid with you, it kind of shut me down. And it didn't shut me down in my own practice. I never changed my beliefs, but it makes it very difficult because I can't help people if my practice is closed down, right? So the second part of this is, it saddens me, Sarah, it saddens me that people like Fauci, people like our other high-level healthcare leaders in this country didn't take a stand and say, hey, listen, we can't say that if you take better care of yourself, that it will direct cause and effect, that you're going to have a less likelihood for getting sick or less likelihood of dying. But it makes sense that if you take better care of yourself, you will have a less likely opportunity to get sick or to die. And of course, Sarah, you and I both know that all the research glaringly points to that we're correct in this manner.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I just want you to know, doing this show, this is the first time I've actually said this, but I wanted to make sure that I came out with you and said this, that it's just heartbreaking that money is so powerful at controlling the narrative that people wouldn't, because hundreds of thousands of people died in this country alone. And one of the things that I really want to spend time with you about today, and I'll begin in another direction in a moment. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but is you really hit the nail on the head. And one of the reasons I think you're so successful is because you get the big picture, which is that getting to the core root of nutritional imbalances. If you have a vitamin D deficiency, if you have a zinc deficiency, it will certainly play out that you're going to have an immune system that isn't as effective. If you, I mean, imagine, Sarah, that you're fighting in World War II and you tell your soldiers, guys, I have scored you 50 bullets apiece. We're going to cross this front line. You got 50 bullets, man. Make every one count. It's like the soldiers would just say, let's do each other. Let's just shoot each other because we're not crossing that battlefield with 50 bullets, right? So, Sarah, what are some of the major things that you're having to correct now that people have been in self-isolation and not maybe taking their supplements, not eating whole food, a whole food-based diet, what kind of, that kind of thing? What are you seeing that you, like, where are you having the biggest struggles and where are you having to really dig in and make changes with people right now?
We see a lot of mental health issues right now because of the isolation. We're having to deal with a lot of mental health issues naturally. People they don't really want to do the medicine because they're still relying on us for the natural health care, but we're seeing a lot of that. And we do muscle testing at our clinic mostly. We do functional medicine. We do a lot of kinesiology. So we are actually looking at a lot of parasitic issues, a lot of viral issues, bacterial, fungal issues, metals, chemicals. We're seeing fallout from the VACCINE. We're seeing, those types of things, lots of fallout from that, complete cellular systems crashing out all over the place. That's scary because I've never seen, when I'm doing my testing, I've never seen that type of inability to test somebody on my table post-vaccination. I don't know if I can say the word out loud. And it scares me because I'm used to being able to help people, and it's more difficult to help people who've gotten it. And that's a little bit scary to me. But then just, kids coming in with all sorts of issues, lung issues because of all of the, the mask wearing. We're seeing a lot of fungal infections, sinus infections, lung infections, all of things that have nothing to do with the virus. They have everything to do with this, wearing a wet mask all day at school, having to retrain people how to breathe. I have an undergrad is in psychology. And so I'm actually having to teach people how to do like coping mechanism breathing type exercises. So I've become like a therapist along with the nutrition to try to have more of an even well-rounded approach to what's going on because it's so much. It's so heavy. My practice has become a little bit more heavy.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate you saying that. Not that I want it to be heavy for you.
Yeah.
But you're so right, Sarah. I'll give you an example. So I'm a chiropractor as well, as a nutritionist and naturopath. And my wife came in one day and said, honey, for God's sake, sweetheart, what is taking you so long? I said, honey, what's taking me so long is people's bodies have come unglued. She said, well, what do you mean? I said, honey, people used to come in and say, Nelson, I know you want to unleash the power of the nervous system and the innate intelligence so that great optimized health can be expressed and so on and so forth. But my big toe is killing me on the left. My right ankle hurts. My left knee hurts. I have pain in my neck, my low back, and something's wrong with both my wrists. I'm like, did you book 2 hours? No, I booked 15 minutes. And Sarah, I've never seen this before in my life. So when we get back, I want to pick up on this issue, Sarah. We're going to take our first commercial break. Folks, I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmash. You're listening to another edition of Health Matters, and my guest is Sarah Outlaw. I love saying that, your name, Sarah. Coolest name ever. We'll be right back, folks.
Safety Air Purification Systems. An air purifier with robust technologies that can filter, sterilize, and re-energize large quantities of air at a whisper quiet volume. It features a proprietary HEPA RX and pre-filter that act as a capturing layer, going for big particles and ultrafine particles. Its next layer is an activated carbon filter that absorbs and captures volatile organic compounds and noxious odors. From viruses to bacteria, its kill chamber packs a 3-punch layer to destroy over 99% of anything that remains in the air. And while most air purifiers stop at the capture or kill stage, Safety Air Purifier takes it one step further, re-energizing clean, pure, sterilized air by creating negative ions within the revitalizing chamber. The Safety Air Purifier also monitors air quality in real time, utilizing smart sensor technology that helps you breathe better air, increase productivity, and improve morale. But don't just take our word for it. Ask the thousands of workplaces we've helped, Fortune 500 companies, dental offices, senior facilities, K-12 schools and universities, and professional sports teams. The Safety Air Purifier's robust technology combined to protect you against indoor air pollutants and viruses to make the most powerful yet quietest air purifier. Safety Air Purification.
I am back. Thank you again, folks, for joining us today. We're having a very engaging conversation where we're really focusing on how to come back, how to regain your health, your vitality during this crazy time of the pandemic of 2020. Before we do, I want to thank my sponsors, Steve Roseboom, Ian, and Brandon. You guys are amazing. They sell the air filtration system that leaves us with surgically clean air. It has made an incredible difference in my practice. I want to thank all of you at Safety for sponsoring me and for the high-quality air purification system that you provide for the world. I think that our time has come where eventually everybody's going to have really incredible air filtration systems. And you guys, I believe, produce the best. Anybody who alone, your HEPA filter, I believe, is 54 feet long. I mean, that's just incredible. Sarah, so let's talk about the current situation. People coming out of the pandemic. What kind of things, Sarah, do you tell people to get them re-engaged in life and healthy living?
Yeah, I mean, I really just remind people that they do have an immune system that I mentioned. I do classes every single Monday night they're free to the public, and I do them on webinars and sometime in person just to educate them on different aspects of their health, just to make sure that people know how to take care of themselves. So my job as a practitioner is not to heal you. It's so that you can heal yourself through natural means. So I want to teach you how to fish, not feed you, basically. So my job is to make sure that you have all the tools that you need in your own hands to be able to take care of yourself, your family, your pets. We see everybody here. So just making sure that you know what you need to know. So education is huge. So teaching people about their immune systems, teaching people's kids about their immune systems, breaking it all down for them, really in basic terms so that it's not too complicated, because we don't really understand how it works. We just know, okay, we take some vitamin C that, makes us feel better, but then what? Like, what does it actually do? Yeah. So just really kind of doing those types of classes and then teaching people how to eat real food. We don't really eat real food, do we, Nelson?
No.
We eat. We don't. No. I know you see this every day in your practice too. So our kids, especially, they have been suffering. So there's been all those free meals provided by schools, but those free meals, unfortunately, most of them are not super healthy. So that's great that parents are being provided food, but look at the food quality and all the sugar that kids are eating. And then don't even get me started about the freebies given away by some donut companies and that type of thing, where what is happening? You're eating sugar and you're depleting your immune system for 4 to 6 hours, and then you eat more sugar and more sugar, so you have no immune system. So
yeah, so true. Sarah, one of the things that was driving me crazy, I mean, we all have pet peeves, right? I mean, I consider myself a person who really is generally not particularly judgmental or critical. But one of the things, Sarah, that I really struggled with is, as the pandemic started, all of the women I knew posting how many dozens of cookies they were making with their kids. And I thought, folks, I love you, but are you kidding me? The last thing in the world you want to eat when you're severely challenged, at least potentially from an immune perspective, is bleach white refined sugar.
Right.
Let's paralyze our immune system so it has as little capability of fighting a severe battle as possible. I mean, and that was like a thing for a while that, look at, we're at home and making, chocolate chip cookies for Johnny and Jane. And I'm like, no, please. Yeah. once again, our leadership really failed us, if you will. And I hate to be so harsh about that. But so I love that you're doing classes. You're educating people. That's fantastic. I want to pick your brain here, Sarah. What are some of the big things that you do that really have a dramatic impact on changing people's lives from, where they're coming out of the slumber where they may have gained 15 to, say, 40 plus pounds to, back where they're vital again, they're active, they're feeling good again? What are some of your key principles that jumpstart people during these times so they can really get some momentum out of the chute?
Well, everything we do is based on our signature service, which is the muscle testing. So we just go through and we check, and people's endocrine systems are all shot. Their adrenals are stressed out. Everybody's been in fight or flight the entire year.
Right.
Everybody's extreme stress. So we have to repair those things first. So teaching people how to, not get back into exercise, but do it slowly. Do some strength training, do some yoga, Pilates. Don't pick up P90X and Insanity right off the bat, because that's going to make your adrenals a little bit more stressed out. So just teach people that type of thing. And then, baby steps. Everything we do, we teach everything on a gradient scale. So if you come in and you're like, look, I've been in quarantine for a year now. My kids have been on remote learning for a year. What can I do? Then I'll give them an action plan. Say, okay, take your kids out, go for a walk. The air, it's getting warmer. It is, even in Iowa.
Even in Iowa. Okay.
It was nice today. It was nice today. It's a little bit more cold. But just getting out there, getting those vitamins. And like you said, the leadership of the country did not say it soon enough about get your zinc, get your vitamin C. So people weren't looking to those things. They were looking elsewhere. And so we're having to train everyone's brains, and, and we're doing it. Our practice, we are all about, kind of tender loving care. We do everything in a very non-judgmental way. We want to meet people where they are and make people understand, not beat you over the head with natural health, but really meet you where you are on your journey and say, listen, this is the best way to do this that we know how. Right. And we practice what we preach here at NHIC, Natural Health Improvement Centers. We practice what we preach. And I will be a hypocrite if I made decisions that were against that. So they're looking to me for leadership.
Right.
And I'm going to be teaching that leadership. So making sure that you have the exact right supplementation, whole food supplements for you, making sure that what you're eating is not inflaming your body. So we do food testing. So we're looking to see, are you having wheat sensitivity, corn, sugar, especially, do you have any chemical exposure? Do you have any heavy metals, that type of thing? Really getting that body cleaned out so you have a fighting chance, so your immune system. Yeah. And we've seen hundreds of cases of the virus. People have gotten it, but it's so mild. I've seen over 100,000 patient visits in my 7 years of practice. I haven't been in practice that long.
Wow.
And so of everyone that we have that we're connected to, not one single person hospitalized, no one's severely sick. Everyone who's gotten it has recovered in 3 to 7, maybe 10 days. Felt like a cold, felt like a little sinus. Really, this is it? No, I know people have died, so I'm not minimizing anything.
No, you're right.
People have to understand. Yeah, if you take care of your system, take care of yourself, mentally, physically, everything, you have a chance to really handle anything. We are exposed to these types of germs every single day. Yeah. If people could see through the microscope, they could see what really surrounded them on a daily basis, they would be so grossed out, right?
Right. Absolutely.
We are so afraid of this one thing, but there's millions of pathogens surrounding us every single day on my desk right here. I'm sure there's things. We have an immune system. Yeah.
And I really appreciate you saying a few things, and I want to reiterate. Number one, it's so funny when I have these people come in and they're like this. I don't know if people can see me, but Bill, you seem to be having difficulty walking. I did P90X yesterday. And what else? The day before. Oh, and you can't walk today, Bill. Bill, do you know what the word gradient means? It means you start gently, lovingly, time, love, and tenderness. How about a little bit of that? You move forward, easy does it. I have people that are Sarah, so deconditioned. I had a number of people, I don't mean elderly people. I mean people that just became couch potatoes or sat there all day long on their computer and said, Nelson, I could barely walk a half a mile. And I said, well, of course. Body is function, as the Bulgarians so awkwardly said. They were some of the top leaders in the world in producing some of the strongest men and women in the world, and they had it was a very awkward way to state it, but they used to say body is function, meaning it is as you train it. It becomes as functional as you allow it to function. And so I'll never forget, I could take several hundred pounds in a deadlift and rep it for 6 or 8 reps, and then my mom would say, sweetie, for God's sakes, take that muscle and go out and rake the front and backyard. Okay, Mom, fine. You know it's going to detract. I don't want to care. It's going to detract from your workout, sweetheart. Go out and do it. And I would, Sarah, and I'd get spots that would blister and my hands would bleed. And I used to say, how is it possible when my hands are calloused from here to here, but they weren't right here? Because the bar never went there. And I used to always laugh at that. Like, how does it happen that my hands are so weathered from all the years of lifting, and here I am bleeding blisters, right? So, folks, gradiently, meaning step by step, slowly get back into things, particularly if you're my age or older. You can guess whatever that is. Don't be nasty. No hating here. So, Sarah, there's a big controversy still, and I know it's going to shock you. You're going to be, really, Nelson, controversy about that? But there's still people out that I meet that don't think one should supplement. What is your position and why?
Yeah. And I kind of used to be one of those people years ago. I'm like, I can get it from my food. I'm good. And I realized very quickly in trying to heal my own self, I had Lyme disease, Hashimoto's, all sorts of autoimmune type things, and Epstein-Barr, that I was not doing myself justice, and realizing that with my patients, you cannot get enough therapeutic nutrition from your own food right now. You just can't.
Right.
We're getting food from other countries. They don't have the same standards. Our standards aren't that great here. Pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, GMOs, you don't know what you're getting. We're getting parasites on our food and all these types of things. And supplements are amazing. Whole food, good quality supplements. They are the genuine replacement parts your body needs to fix the underlying issues you have going on. I can't get somebody to eat 5 pounds of beets, but I can give them tablets that have beets in them that get into their systems and make those nutritional corrections that I can't make any other way. And it's magic. It's literally magic.
Yeah, I so appreciate you saying that. Isn't it? And I know you're going to know exactly, you're going to smile when I say this. Isn't it amazing to you? It still amazes me, Sarah, how fast people's physiology shifts if you get the right source of whole food and whole food supplements.
Yeah.
It's
funny. Yeah, because it's interesting, because I'll have somebody come in for initial consultation. They'll come in 2 weeks later for a follow-up, and I barely recognize them because their inflammation is reduced. Their skin looks better. They're glowing. They're smiling. And I'm like, you took your supplements, didn't you?
Yeah.
Like, that's basically what it is. And they're very slowly changing their food, but the whole food getting in there and making those changes, it's absolutely incredible.
And Sarah, your point is so well taken that, go whole food, folks. The reason you always want to go whole food, as Sarah said, is because the body always wants genuine replacement parts. And whole food-based nutrition is so dense. Sarah, it used to be funny. You probably didn't know this, and I'm being facetious. But once upon a time, I'm told I was a little bit of a cocky lad some 30 years ago. And I used to think I'm smart enough and I know how to purchase the best foods. And I used to start my day, and I'm not exaggerating, with about 20 to 30 pounds of raw fruit and raw vegetable. And my son would sit there. He was the musher man. And we'd and we would literally juice about 30 pounds of organic raw fruits and vegetables a day to start our day. And he used to just giggle. He used to just love that idea of putting those beets in there, going, celery, and it's so funny. Yeah. We still joke about that, right? And I thought, I got it all going on. And then a friend said, Nelson, you cannot, in this day and age, go without getting supplementation. That's absurd. Yeah. And of course, I knew better. I said, bet. And he said, oh, I will not only bet you, gentleman's bet, but I will pay for your tests if you don't have any nutritional deficiencies. I said, you are so on, Sarah. You are so on. Well, it was one of the moments in my life, Sarah, where I took an abrupt hard left, because not only, Sarah, did I have nutritional deficiencies, I was off the chart for nutritional deficiencies. And I'm not kidding you. I mean, I had 8 critical deficiencies. Like where they said, you got to handle this, son, or you're going to have health consequences. And I thought, Sarah, I ate nothing refined, heavy plant-based diet. The meat that I had, wild-caught salmon, wild-caught haddock, halibut, trout, raw seeds, raw nuts, and still had 8 major deficiencies. I said, I can't do better than this. And that's when I turned the corner and realized I'm going into this, and I'm going to make sure that I, get out the message. Whole food supplementation. Sarah, we're going to take our second commercial break. Folks, I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmash. Thank you for joining me. Are you having a blast? Because I know I am. Sarah, you having a good time?
Yeah, Yes.
Awesome. Fantastic. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
If this content resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel at uimedianetwork.org to stay updated with our uncensored shows. Also, like and follow us at UI Media Network on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and almost all your favorite podcasting platforms. Most importantly, if you're being censored on social media, write to us at contact@uimedianetwork.org to get your message out. And remember, keep raising that frequency.
All right, everybody, I'm back. Sarah, I so appreciate you doing this with me. It's like having a buddy, and I'm going to say very playfully with you. I hope you don't mind this, but like I said, your name is so cool. You could be like, the outlaw in the nutrition world. It's so cool. Little rebelliousness there. Mm-hmm. I've got that little side to me, so I love that that aspect of your name. So, Sarah, I have to pick your brain. Are there any like really cool, when I say secret, I'm being playful here, but things that you are like some of your favorite things to jumpstart people when they're coming in and they're unwell? Not necessarily with a specific challenge. I mean, I'm sure you agree with me when people come in, it's like they've got heavy metal issues, they've got chemical issues, they've got deficiency issues, they've got scar interference fields. What are some of your favorite ways to just get people really jump-started? Other than the obvious. I mean, in other words, I got whole food eating, high quality organic, beyond organic, that kind of thing. But give me some of I want to pick your brain and find some of your secrets, your little pearls.
Well, I don't know if this will surprise you or not, but the number one thing that we find that is really detrimental to people's health is actually parasitic imbalance in their guts. Everybody seems to have parasites. And I was the person who, whenever I would see other practitioners saying, oh, I've got parasites, I'm like, no, you cannot be finding parasites in everybody. Well, once I started digging deeper, I realized the underlying cause of so many things is a parasitic imbalance. It's just the way of the world now because of all the pesticides and things. So that is causing really horrible digestive issues, brain fog, things that are really bogging people down to the point where they can't function. They can't think. They can't eat right. They feel awful every time that they try to do anything. So just handling that has been miraculous. And people, all of a sudden, the fog is lifted. It's like they feel like that they are no longer walking through a sea of fog. Mm-hmm. And they feel like they've gotten their lives back. And handling like Lyme. Lyme is a huge thing that we handle in our practice. A lot of Lyme infection issues and the deep set viruses that we handle.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Those are the things unless they're getting to the root cause of things, there's nothing I can give them that will help them. I have to go under. I have to keep them down the rabbit hole.
It's interesting you say that. I studied for many, many years, and sadly, this might be before your time if your entry point was 7 years ago. Are you familiar with the name Robert Marshall, Dr. Robert Marshall? So he was a legend, but I can't believe I'm saying this. I have a feeling he may have passed with, before you really got into this. But Robert Marshall, if you ever want to read some extraordinary material, he was the founder and CEO of Premier Research out of LA and out of Austin, Texas. And when I had cancer, he was one of the three doctors. I had Bill Curry, Ellen Cutler, and Bob Marshall that all helped me through when I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And he was the one that got me to realize. He used to say, Nelson, what percentage of your practice in time, not necessarily right away, because some of these people are so weak from the accumulation of heavy metals and chemicals and EMF and so on and so forth. The barrage is so heavy that they don't eat well. They're too tired to do anything. So they're so malnourished. They have so many deficiencies that he used to say, get them more nourished if you can, and then check for parasites and things of that sort, bacterial imbalances, and tell me what percentage of your practice you're finding. And I said, Bob, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I find about 90%. And he said, bingo. He said, now I know you're doing good work. He said, we find in our big practice in LA and in Austin, Texas, about 90% of the people. And I'll share this with you. This is really, so neat that you brought this up because not many people do. The big game changer for me when I was dealing with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and I wasn't sure I was going to live or die was Bob Marshall said, get rid of your parasitic problem. It will likely be the turning point in your... Now, folks, please, I'm speaking about myself and my own process. I'm not saying if you get rid of a parasitic problem, you're going to cure your cancer. Please don't hear that. I'm letting you know what happened to me. But Sarah, it was very interesting. I ended up having quite a severe, I'm just going to say, problem with liver and GI flukes, if you know what those nasty little ugly alien things are. And,
so ugly.
Oh my God, Sarah. Creepy crawlies, I will say nothing else. We're going to hit the erase button now that I've said it. Take that visual out of your mind, Sarah. But listen, it was the turning point. It was the turning point in my cancer process. Once again, folks, I'm only speaking about my process. I'm not saying what will or won't happen in your process. But Sarah, it was a turning point. Once I got rid of that problem, my health took such a dramatic turn, and this is either year 14 or 15 that I'm in remission. So I'm so happy I can be here and be spending time with you. Otherwise, there'd be flowers growing over my grave.
So, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I mean, I'm only being partially playful. That was my son, I believe, was 15 years old. And the week before we went on our wonderful or epic Alaska trip, they had said they'd pronounced me officially in remission. And I have been, safe from 2 bouts with that. And my life is grand and great. And I'm just so happy and I have such gratitude that I'm here to do like this with you. So it's neat to hear you say that, because I don't hear many practitioners say that anymore. But that was a personal moment that Bob Marshall and I had, where he pulled me aside and he said, I know that if you're ultimately finding that with people, that you're doing really high quality work. Because those are the things that destroy the organs, that destroy the microbiome, that create such massive turbulence in one's immune system and one's ability to digest and absorb nutrients, that if you don't get rid of that, it can be very difficult to get a person well. Very, very cool, Sarah. Thank you. Share some other pearls with me. What are some of the other, like just some of the cool things, or some of the like neat cases that you have? Do you have any special cases you'd like to share?
Let me think. I mean, we have some pretty serious Lyme cases that they did everything else. They suspected they had Lyme. All their tests would come up and the blood work would come up negative, and they have all symptoms. They're like classic Lyme, and they would come to us and we would do our testing, and we don't diagnose anything, obviously, but we're looking for the, those types of things. We find what we find, put them on the protocols that we have specifically for those types of imbalances, and boom, they are living lives and able to go back to work. We've seen people go back, get their jobs back, who'd been unemployed for years because they couldn't work. We've seen people, get married. We have a case of a person who we actually found. So sometimes I have pretty good intuition about patients. And so we had doing some muscle testing, and we had a patient who was a friend of mine from previous things, and she was not getting better. Like I would muscle test and her head would not muscle test well. And so I said, listen, I think you should go get an MRI. There's something not right here. And her symptoms were very, very severe. She went to get a MRI, and she had a golf ball size brain tumor on her brainstem.
Wow.
And they were literally like making funeral plans for this woman, and sweet lady, and she did end up getting it removed, and we handled Lyme in her system, that was the kind of the root cause of everything. It caused Lyme and parasites, and then she actually ended up having another baby, and she's living life completely healthy, and you would never know that she had this awful year of her life about 5-6 years ago, where we thought she was going to die. And that was a miracle. We've had so many miracles of people just coming into our office. We have a sign on our wall, my New Jersey practice. It says, "While there is hope, there is life." It's by Cicero. The quote. Cicero, yeah. That's basically where we are. People come to us. Sometimes we're the caboose on the long train of where they've been. Yeah. The doctors have told them that they are fine over and over again. Their blood work looks normal. Well, if you're a functional practitioner, that's not normal. If you read it a different way, it's not going to be normal.
Right.
And just seeing these very severe cases where they're basically medical wreckage, because the medical system says, sorry, there's nothing we can do for you. We've had Crohn's cases, Crohn's and ulcerative colitis cases. They have been some major cases that we've seen. We had a football player, young freshman college football player, couldn't even sit on the bench. He had horrible Crohn's disease where it was even bleeding, and thought he was going to lose his scholarship. said, I'll do whatever you say. So he actually bought all of his own food, was cooking his own food in his dorm room, did our supplement program, got rid of the parasites, because that's what we see in 100% of those cases with the digestive issues. And he didn't lose his scholarship. And he doesn't even need to come to see me anymore, because he's doing amazing. And that's something that ran in his family. He had, his dad actually had a bowel resection. So these are cases that we see all the time. We took a 55-year-old woman who was walking on a walker. Mm-hmm. This is when I first started my practice. I didn't know anything when I first started. I knew, and she, within a couple of weeks walked in, and she was like, look at me, I can walk, that type of thing. And my associate practitioner had the same thing happen to her a few weeks ago with somebody on a cane, came in a couple of weeks later, not with a cane. So that's just like it's, Sarah, unless you experience that, it's not even believable, is it? Yeah. And no, I mean, it's so used to it. Then we like, oh, it's an everyday thing. We see these miracles, but don't get used to it, because it's amazing.
And it is miraculous, truly. Yeah. I mean, I'm that miracle. I mean, when I remember reaching that crossroads where it's like, God, if something doesn't shift, I know I'm dead. There's this is not open to question. I'm at the end here. I need something. And a series of miracles happened. I met the three people I talked about, and they all charged, and Nelson, do this, this, and this, and this. And my health steadily improved, and now I lead a wonderful, amazing life, like it was, like it never happened, Sarah. That's what's so crazy. Our systems have such versatility, such resilience, such an ability to adapt effectively that, if you give it the right things and you step out of the way, it really knows how to circumnavigate the world effectively.
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing.
Wow. So you're in Iowa, you're enjoying yourself, and Tell me about your new practice.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I started this practice. I was invited to Iowa to start this practice. We're starting our 4th year. And so I traveled back and forth for almost 3 full years, every other week, seeing the patients in New Jersey and flying here, seeing patients here. And I only had one Sunday a month off. That was my only one day off a month. Difficult. I have 5 kids. So, it can be difficult.
Right.
So we decided to move to Iowa in the middle of a pandemic. So we built a house, built a farm, and in July of last year, we moved to Iowa. The practice is thriving. I now have a waiting list practice here in Iowa. And I don't really want a waiting list practice, because if you're like me, Nelson, you want to be able to help people right now.
I know.
But it comes to a point where people it just happens. So
it does.
I'm happy, but not happy, if you know what I mean.
Right, Sarah, I know exactly what you're saying. We're in that situation. Now, here's the good news is that when you have a waiting list practice, people are not quick to cancel their appointments.
Right.
Like, how many weeks will it be before I get in? At least 3. Okay, let me move my day so I can make that happen. No, it's good and it's not good. The neat thing is that you've achieved a level of success, a level of competence, Sarah, that the world responds by helping you create this waiting list, which is, if you've never had it, it's pretty extraordinary, right? The bad news is I'm exactly like you. So I end up working, these like 11 and a half to 13 or more 14-hour days sometimes. And I'm trying to get away from that. Mm-hmm. Because I appreciate that, if somebody's sick, you need what you need. So I get it. But congratulations to you, because I don't know too many people that have done that. That's a rare club. So yeah, it is. And I always tell people, it's not me. I'm the vessel. I acquire these skills, and it's nothing. There's nothing special about me. It's what I'm able to do and help other people. So people are like, oh, Sarah, you're this. I'm like, no. It's not me. First of all, you have to do the work. Yeah. And second of all, I just learned some skills. I have the knowledge and the tools to help you, but I'm not doing anything. Well, Sarah, and let's talk about that for a moment. You brought up a really good point. And I would humbly argue with you, and I'm winking, that you are extraordinary. And I'm sure your husband and your kids agree, and I'm sure all your patients do. You don't get to where you are without being pretty amazing, but I know you're being humble, and I will afford you that. I think you're an amazing person, and I would give you a little bit more credit perhaps than you do. But that's okay. I understand. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your perspective. Let's talk about what's essential, Sarah, for a really good patient to get better, because your point is well taken. You are the vessel. You're correct. You are the facilitator. Absolutely agree with you. And you have a very good point, which is that you got to have patients that will work with you. What does that look like? What is a good patient to you?
Somebody who is willing and open-minded. They have to follow my recommendations. If you come into my practice and get my recommendations and say, I'll do your program, and then you don't take your supplements, you don't follow the food plans, you don't make changes for yourself, you're not going to get the results that we are used to. If you don't agree to coming in when we say, so we see patients every couple of weeks for follow-ups. We have a 6-month program. You're committing to a minimum of that time. And if you don't put the work in and just sit back and just expect things to kind of come this way, you're not doing this with your health. You're not coming into my office and saying, here, Sarah, you do it. Yeah. You're coming in and I'm saying, here, you do it. Right. You do it. So be willing. So timing is everything. I've had people who have come in and said the timing's not right and come back a year later and said, okay, I'm ready now. Because it's a simple program, but it's not easy because you have to do a lot of work. You have to commit to physical, do some physical exercise. You have to eat better. You have to shop better. You have to think better, sleep better, all of these things, take the supplements. And it's, like I said, it's a simple program, but it's not for everyone. Everyone doesn't have the same drive. And some people, they seem to not like to be sick, but they identify with being sick. So they've been sick
makes them seem heroic, right?
Yeah. So they're sick and they don't know what life is like not being sick or with their diagnosis. So my plea to everyone out there is you are not your diagnosis, no matter what you've been diagnosed with.
All right. Sorry.
Come in.
Forgive me, Sarah. I'm so sorry. My poor director and producer are like, Nelson, we got to take a commercial break. Hey, folks, my apologies, Sarah. Folks, we'll be right back for our last segment of Health Matters. I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmash. My guest is Sarah Outlaw. We'll be right back.
Safety Air Purification Systems. An air purifier with robust technologies that can filter, sterilize, and re-energize large quantities of air at a whisper quiet volume. It features a proprietary HEPA RX and pre-filter that act as a capturing layer, going for big particles and ultrafine particles. Its next layer is an activated carbon filter that absorbs and captures volatile organic compounds and noxious odors. From viruses to bacteria, its kill chamber packs a 3-punch layer to destroy over 99% of anything that remains in the air. And while most air purifiers stop at the capture or kill stage, Safety Air Purifier takes it one step further, re-energizing clean, pure, sterilized air by creating negative ions within the revitalizing chamber. The Safety Air Purifier also monitors air quality in real time, utilizing smart sensor technology that helps you breathe better air, increase productivity, and improve morale. But don't just take our word for it. Ask the thousands of workplaces we've helped, Fortune 500 companies, dental offices, senior facilities, K-12 schools and universities, and professional sports teams. The Safety Air Purifier's robust technology combined to protect you against indoor air pollutants and viruses to make the most powerful yet quietest air purifier. Safety Air Purification.
All right, I'm back. Hey, listen, folks, if you enjoy my shows, I'd appreciate it very, very much if you'd send me a message and let me know. As I mentioned, we're on every social media platform, every major social media platform. We're on 10 different TV platforms. Please let me know that you like my show, and please share my show. My show grows when you come back to re-engage and when you share it. And it's been growing a lot over the last year, so I really appreciate it. And I ask you to like my shows and to share them. All right, Sarah, I didn't mean to cut you off there. We have to make sure we get into commercial breaks. I really appreciate that. And I want to reiterate what you said because it's a deal breaker. Sarah, one of the most frustrating things as a practitioner is when you strongly believe that you have the tools to facilitate somebody's healing experience and they don't step up to the plate and we engage more effectively or more fully maybe would be the proper way to describe it as a patient. And I love what you said, because here's the thing, folks. If you don't fully and properly engage in your healing process, you're not going to get better. Sarah, I want to mention something that's really frustrating my son. My son loves integrated care. He was actually going to become a chiropractor and then decided he wanted a little bit more of an integrated perspective. And I said, son, what does that mean? He said, Dad, I'm going to become a physician. I'm going to become a doctor of osteopathy so I can do their version of chiropractic adjusting. And he said, I love physiology and I love being able to do some of the other things that being a DO affords. And I'm going to have a strong bent, as you as my father has influenced me to do so. Well, he can't do that, Sarah, now because he's in his first year. He's finishing up his first year of residency. And I want to speak to something that you brought up because it's so perfect. And I want to introduce it this way. Patients have been so, I'm going to use the term brainwashed or misled. Maybe misled is the right way to say this, where they go to the doctor and the doctor gives them something and says, just take this. And the problem with that is that you think health comes in a pill. You think health comes in a shot, right? So there's very little ownership. And I want to share with you what my son told me some weeks ago. He said, Dad, this is in some ways really hard for me. And I said, son, what are you struggling with? He said, well, number one, the first place they put him, Sarah, was in the COVID ICU. And he said, I don't feel like a doctor at all, Dad. I feel like a minister. I'm signing off on 1 to 3 death certificates per shift. He said, I mean, this is horrible. People can't come in to be with their family members while they die. They're dying. Some of them have been here for weeks. They're on ventilators. They get no company. They're dying intubated. I said, this is like nothing that I ever imagined my life as a physician would be. I said, I'm sorry, son. He said, are you doing anything for the patients? Are you able to do anything? He said, Dad, I hold their hand when I can. I sit down, I talk to them. Usually they can respond. They can't talk because they're intubated, but they'll squeeze my hand. They'll cry. And I said, listen, son, sometimes in life, you got to do the very best that you can do, whatever that means, however that looks. And he said, it's just difficult. I feel like a minister. I'm holding their hand while they leave the world. I said, well, don't ever underestimate the power of that. That's profound. Yeah. Okay. Number one. I said, number two, I hope you're learning some very important principles here. And he said, what do you mean, Dad? I said, what I mean, son, is that the immune system is very strong. And many of these people would never have ended up where they were if they made better lifestyle choices. And he said, Dad, you're completely right. He said, there is a characteristic pattern. Almost everyone who comes in is obese. Almost everyone that comes in has serious deficiencies, vitamin D deficiencies, vitamin C deficiencies, zinc deficiencies. These people, they're poor. Most of them, they're uneducated. They don't make good healthcare choices. And it's predictable that if you're that person, the likelihood is that you have a much, much greater risk of death. He said, arguably, you're right, Dad. The people who really take great care of themselves don't have the consequences like from COVID that others. Clearly, he said, I can tell you, I worked in the COVID ICU unit. I saw the characteristic profile. And so, Sarah, I just really appreciate you. I appreciate what you do. And I appreciate you mentioning the importance of the patient, because here's the thing, folks, and I want you to really hear me, and I want you to really go back and listen to what Sarah said, because if you don't take ownership early in life, or as early as possible, we'll meet you where you are. Sarah, right? We'll meet them where they are. But if you don't take ownership of taking great care of yourself, you open up for a litany of problems that sometimes you cross a certain threshold. You get your coronary arteries at 95% plaqued up. It's going to be a rough road to recovery. I'm not saying that there aren't people who do it, but you got to take ownership. And Sarah, I just so appreciate you saying that to people, because that's a critical component of what you and I do, which is getting the cooperation from the people that we work with.
Right. Yeah, it's important.
Sarah, what other things do you want to share? I want to make sure you get a little bit of time. Is there something that you wanted to bring up that is just really important for you to share with our patients?
Just that you need to take control of your health. And the best way to do it is to find somebody who is holistic minded. And you had mentioned integrative practitioners. So you have to know the difference. I feel like integrative practitioners, they're still very medically minded a lot of times. So you have to look at, do they look at the whole person? Do they know how to read blood work functionally? Do they use functional medicine, or are they just open-minded towards you using holistic cares, but they're going to still prescribe you a bunch of medication? You really have to know your practitioner. I always tell people, please do your due diligence before coming to me. Research me, research my associate practitioners, research my practice. What do we do? Does it jive with what you want? If not, we're not going to be the best practitioner for everyone out there.
Right.
Everyone jives.
Sure.
but just knowing what you need and knowing what you want out of a practitioner. And, we do use muscle testing. We expect you to be open-minded. If you come into my practice and be like, what's this muscle testing stuff? Then I know you didn't do your research, because that's what I do. That's my signature thing. So I expect, I don't mind if you're, a little bit skeptical of what we do, but at least have researched it, because muscle testing is amazing. I mean, I can find the most amazing things. We use specifically nutrition response testing is the actual technique that we use, but I have little vials that I test for so many things. I can find anything anywhere in the body, know exactly where it is. I do a lot of emotional type things now, where I'm looking for certain emotions that are trapped in people's systems. And because especially since I actually did that post-COVID, because we're seeing so much with emotions and people just having unresolving health issues, because at the root cause of some people's health issues is some type of an emotional
very good point, right? And if you don't break through that, isn't that interesting that it's like the rate limiting step in the reaction, that you can have an emotional blockage that is so severe, Sarah, a person will not allow themselves to transcend that threshold until that's handled. Another very, very good point, Sarah. Thank you for that. Yeah, wow.
Fear is the one we're finding. Of course, you would expect that. Fear is the one emotion that we are finding the most. Fear and anxiety, and that just seems to it's gripping. And it's, where does that sit? Down here in the gut. So people are literally coming in like their guts are wrenching. Yeah. And it's that fear, that all of that. And then the kidneys, fear is a lot of times held in the kidneys too. So we're seeing a lot of I've never seen this many kidney issues than ever. And then anger, like angry towards everything around them. So lots of liver issues coming in. Yes. So we try to, it's craziness. So I'm learning a lot because of so many differences in how we have to handle people since the pandemic started. But it's been very eye-opening. So I've becoming more patient as a person.
You have to be, right? Yeah, it's so true, Sarah. And you not only more patient, it's so interesting because Sarah, I don't remember a time, save having conversations with my mother who lived in Nazi Germany, being Jewish and hiding in the Black Forest, for example, to avoid the Nazis, the English, and the Americans, and her stories about what it was like to flee being put in a concentration camp, or flee what it was like to, the bombings. Her stories about the horrific bombings where the B-52 squadrons, you know how big a B-52 is roughly, and she used to say squadrons of them would unload tons upon tons. She described a scenario one day where the ground shook so violently you couldn't stand. It was like you were in a massive earthquake. And in the morning, they opened their door, and as far in this direction, and as far as that direction, as far as that direction, everything was leveled. Their side of the street prevailed. They lived. Everyone on the opposite side of the street died. As far that way as you could see, as far that way, as far that way. And so she developed a resiliency and an understanding. For her, she talked about the importance. Like, we killed dandelions. She said they lived off of dandelions. They said, you want your kidneys and your liver to work? Eat dandelions that are unsprayed. And it's so crazy to me that we destroy these things with herbicides, pesticides. And yet, when she went through World War II, she said we used to get our vitamin C from getting pine needles and making tea. Meaning the land affords us what we need to be healthy. We just have to be willing to look carefully and to take ownership. Getting back quickly to my son, I said, son, you're going through a trial by fire period here. And the things the cases he described yesterday were just not believable. The people that had 8 things that could all kill them, from heart to kidney failure to ascites that was bacterially contaminated. And these are all people who just didn't take ownership, didn't take responsibility, Sarah. So I want to leave you for what we call final thoughts, Sarah, which is where you get to leave everybody with your final thoughts. And then we'll close out the show. We got 60 seconds.
My final thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just, you've heard a lot from both of us today. So just take control, take ownership of your health. You are your best physician, because you have the opportunity to go out there, find somebody to help you, and then take care of yourself. Eat good food, breathe good air, breathe, for heaven's sake. Take the mask off, breathe actual real air. Get out in the sun. We're coming into a really good season. So we have a really good opportunity to emerge from our cocoons, emerge from our solitude, and live our lives. You only get one, as far as we know, right?
Yeah.
You only get one,
Yeah.
so you need to live it.
Right.
Don't
Awesome.
be sick, and you don't need to be sick, and don't take anything as normal. Your symptoms are not normal. So go out there, take care of them, find a practitioner near you, and get better.
Beautiful. Sarah, you were an amazing guest. Thank you for being on today. I hope you'll allow me to invite you back. Folks, I'm going to close out the show. Thank you, Sarah. Really appreciate you. And I hope you can hang on for 1 second. Folks, it's been a delight as always. I love this. Thank you once again. Like and share my shows. And in 2 weeks, my show's on every week, although we do it live every other week. And in 2 weeks, we have the amazing Michelle Morass, who is a nationally known coach on life and in particular a speaking coach. Join me. She's an amazing woman. We're going to have an amazing conversation. Thank you again. Remember, always be your best.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Health Matters with Dr. Nelson Bulmash, where we help you discover how to ignite your mind, body, and spirit connection. Join us next time when we will bring you more exciting guests and engaging topics. Meanwhile, feed your mind, exercise your body, and nurture your spirit. The United Intentions Foundation and its associates take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by the talk show hosts